Hi, it's Jeff Wade here with stockideas.org, and I just want to do a quick book review today of The Alchemy of Finance by George Soros. So this is a semi-iconic book, I guess, in the world of finance, so I decided that I would finally get around to reading it. Now, to give you an idea, George Soros is obviously a pretty successful speculator, but this book was written in the 1980s, I think 1986 or 7 or so. And at that time, the dominant thoughts on markets was really the efficient market theory, the idea that everything was rational and efficient and logical, and you might as well not invest in anything but an index because the market is smarter than you, it knows everything, and it's always right. But George Soros, who by then had become quite a successful hedge fund manager at the Quantum Fund, he was like, hold on a minute, I have been very successful and I don't believe any of this prevailing academic dogma. So he then lays out his theory of reflexivity, as he calls it, in this book. And, the basic idea is just that, markets and the world and the social sciences are all part of a big fluid dynamic equilibrium that's always shifting and moving, and everything's always influencing everything. The easiest example is fundamentals influence stock price would be the prevailing economic rationale. But he would say, no, this is all influencing each other. The stock price is actually influencing the fundamentals because it's influencing the perception of the bankers who are extending credit to the company, the stock in question. So, it's actually part of a big reflexive process, and it's always changing. So it's a cool idea, certainly. But the first, 100 pages or so are, maybe the first 50 pages especially, are really dense and kind of like philosophical. He just sort of like talks about his interest in philosophy and like how he came up with these ideas. And parts of it are interesting, but it's kind of hard to follow. By sort of like page 70, he gets into applying his ideas to financial markets, to currency markets, to debt markets, and it's much more interesting, at least for someone interested in finance, and it's much more applicable, basically. You can, just understand his concepts and see how they work in practice much better. Then in the middle of the book, he documents, he kind of lays out his ideas and theory and how it is reflected in the current markets in 1986. And he's like, I'm going to do an experiment. I'll just write down my rationale and why I'm doing what I'm doing. Here are my primarily macro economic bets on currencies and debt and stocks. And here's how I'm doing, and it's pretty amazing. He gets 150% return in about a year and a half, and it's pretty interesting to see and neat that he did that. And then in the end, he just sort of wraps it up with some lessons and thoughts and more thoughts on reflexivity and possible solutions to some of the problems that face markets. So it's really interesting, and the title, "The Alchemy of Finance." Is he saying that it's not a science, like finance and investing, they're all happening in this fluid market dynamic where everything's always changing, everything's influencing everything, and the rate of influence and the rate of change is always shifting. So there's just so much going on, and it's just kind of like an alchemy where operational success doesn't necessarily equal the truth. There's certainly some really interesting ideas in the book. And just the first little bit of it were tough for me to get into anyway. You might have better luck. If you want to see a little bit more about the Alchemy of Finance, I encourage you to just hit the link below this video, and that'll take you through to stockideas.org. And from there, you can just read a little bit more about the book, click through to Amazon and read some of the reviews there, and see if The Alchemy of Finance by George Soros, forward by Paul Walker, is for you. So thanks very much for watching, and click to subscribe for more finance and investing book reviews. Thanks a lot.